Welcome to Better Than Brunch, Halloween edition.
Hello, everyone.
I'm Denise Williams, she, her, author of How to Fail at Flirting and The Fastest Way to Fall, which we'll be talking about a lot today.
Woo!
Yeah.
I am Taj McCoy, author of Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell, which is right here. And can't wait to have this discussion today.
I'm Cherish Reed, and I see this happens all the time. Don't worry.
Oh, no.
I'm Cherish Reed, she, her, and I am the author of a few romance novels. You've probably heard of them. It's not a big deal.
I'm Cassandra Newbold. I am author and editor of Everybody Shines and She, Her, and I am here to party.
I'm Alicia Sparrow. I am an editor, and I'm here to celebrate the publication. I'm really excited. So this is great.
Yay. We prepped Alicia for this by saying, hey, come be on the internet with us. We don't really plan. It'll be fun. We don't have a script and we don't edit.
It's totally fine. I'm excited.
She showed up looking hella cute though. And that's
Thank you.
all we need.
I'm here for the Sailor Moon type situation.
Yes.
I don't have a costume. I mean, I do have a costume, Sailor Pluto, but it's a lot of work to put on. So I'm just.
Well, you're definitely giving me like celestial being vibes right now.
Thank
so
you.
Oh my gosh, it's very on brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're gonna need to do another Zodiac episode.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And the last one I don't fully remember, except that it ended with Taj as Capricorn in a room full of brown curtains.
Oh, that's right. We did
That was your flirting style. It was like surrounded in brown curtains.
The astrological love and sex book. That was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That was really messy.
It was really messy. and it that like I don't know what it is. Like I subscribe to CoStar and they just drag Capricorns for filth all the time. Like I don't understand what that's about, but clearly somebody at CoStar has an issue with us Capricorns. It's not okay.
Do you deserve
if
it?
someone drags a Leo for filth, we just disavow their existence.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. As a Capricorn,
I'm just gonna assume that they don't know what they're talking about. I am a sun sign, which means I'm the center of our universe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Collectively, yeah.
What are you, Alicia?
I'm a Virgo, so I'm secretly judging everything, but I'm trying to be nice about it. So,
Right.
Apparently.
I love it.
Perfect balance.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of quietly or not so quietly judging everything, there's some beef to be shared today, isn't there?
There is.
Double
I'm
B.
glad you brought this up. My week has been hellish, and I'll be brief because I want to keep this a celebration. But I bank at a bank called, do we use the word bank as a verb or is it just me?
It's a verb.
I bank.
Yeah.
I bank at a place called Fifth Third Bank. And I don't know if I've ever shared this with you guys, but Fifth Third Bank is like one of those Ohio local institutions where when you call them for anything, they are forced to say, hello, this is Deborah of Fifth Third Bank. How do I make your day of Fifth Third better?
Oh.
And so when you are forced to hear that every time you have to call them, and I had to call Fifth Third Bank like 8 times this week so that they could send me a bank card that's about to expire. The one that I currently have in my hand right now expires, I don't know, tonight. And I had to call several times just to make sure that somebody actually sent what they said that they were going to send. At one point, there were 3 bank cards that arrived in Sylvania, Ohio, which is where I used to live, instead of the Maryland address that I gave them. So yeah, they had to cancel like 3 bank cards and then rush order or expedite the real card, and my sister received it just last night.
Wow.
Yes. And so every time I called these people up, they would say, well, Miss Halliburton, it's my real name, I hope that we've taken care of everything that you needed us to take care of, which they never did. And I hope that your day is a 5th third better. And it never was.
That's
You're
so
lying.
confusing. Like,
It's
It
not
might be
fraction.
time for a new bank. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm really just stuck on the syntax of 5/3 better, because then it's like, I don't want your day to be exponentially better, just like this limited amount better, Like-
Marginally better.
60%
Little
better.
bit.
So I obviously need to find a new bank, but it's very difficult to find a new bank as an American abroad, because like you gotta
Transfer all
do
your
all the shuffling around the address that I don't have, and I don't know, it's a whole thing. They're holding my money hostage. They know it. I know it.
Maybe
So
your
we
next
just-
venture could be to start a bank for expats.
There you go.
Oh, there
And you
go.
could call it the 7/3 expat bank. And when somebody calls, you could say, just have a nice day, because it doesn't have limits.
That's true.
Also, I don't think you have any background in banking, so they might be calling a lot. So
Or maybe just call it Infinity Bank so that it really
Infinity
truly
Bank.
doesn't have limits.
There you go.
There you go. It is not FDIC insured. We
No.
know that much already. This could be a fraudulent adventure.
It's just
Taj,
a
did you
bucket.
have-
Put all your money in this bucket,
Right.
and you call, I'll take it out of the bucket.
Did you have beef this week?
I did. I've had beef all month. It's just been a beefy October for me because I am currently sitting my extremely wide ass on a bar stool in front of my desk because my desk chair still has yet to arrive. The one that was in stock when I ordered it on October 2nd, along with other furniture that was not in stock, that has all arrived. So my beef is with West Elm, whom is selectively gaslighting me at this point because I decided to troll them on Twitter and say, like it would be so nice if my stuff isn't delayed yet again by West Elm. And of course, they immediately come into my comments and are like, hey, Taj, DM us your order number and we'll see if we can get that going for you. And so I DM them. It takes 48 hours for them to even respond to the DM. And when they finally do, they're like, Taj, I've messaged the fulfillment center. They have been told that this is a priority and they need to get this out right away. Well, what's funny about that is basically days go by, nothing changes in terms of my order status. And then when it finally does change, the fulfillment center has decided that my delivery will now be delayed another 10 days. So clearly they don't give a fuck what Susan said in my DMs because they're like, fuck Susan, we don't care. And they're not sending me my fucking chair. So yeah, so it's great working from home with no chair to sit at your desk. It's awesome. That's
They
my
said, tell Susan to bring her ass down here and ask us
Really?
in our face.
I'm sure like whomever received that message in the fulfillment center was like, I wish Susan would come over here and say that shit to my face. Like, you know?
Susan knows that the
Susan might
warehouse
just be
don't
having
work
a
like
bad
that.
I was like, come on, Susan. I was like, well, did they respond to you? Because clearly on my end, they don't want to give me my chair. And then someone else,
No.
Tammy, responded and she's like, I've CC'd Susan and we're going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm like, see, I just can't.
Okay.
Tammy and Susan at West Elm.
They brought Tammy on the case?
Tammy
Oh, shit.
on the case. I'm not confident in Tammy or Susan. But this is where we are with my desk chair. So next time you tune in, see if I actually have one. I probably won't.
I think that might be all the beef.
No,
Yeah,
I have
feel-
beef.
Ooh,
beef.
Alicia, go for it.
So
Oh.
yesterday I had beef with Zipcar because yesterday I had a vet appointment for my good boy Max. He's somewhere over there. And so as Zipcar says, oh, you can rely on us. You can open our cars either via the card that we give you or the app.
Mhm.
I'm able to open it with my app because I was almost late to the appointment, so I didn't have the card with me. I get 2.5 miles north of where I live for this vet appointment, and then I have to pay for parking, move the car, whatever, so I can get in. I finish the vet appointment, come out, car doesn't open, and I'm just like, I'm in Chicago. It's cold. My poor dog, who is a pit bull, does not have a lot of hair, so he's shivering.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I have to call Zipcar. I call them. I'm on hold for 15 minutes before they're just like, oh, how can we help you? And I'm just like, bro, open the car. And he's just like, okay, I did it. No, you didn't, because nothing happened. He's just like, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And so he's just like, oh, can you shut the app and then try it again? And I'm like, fine, I did so. Nothing happened. He's just like, you should use the card to open the car. I already told you I don't have this. I don't have the card. Fix it. And so they're just like, well, I'm going to transfer you to roadside assistance. What is roadside assistance supposed to do for me right now? Because I can't get into this car. And so they transfer me. I'm on hold for 15 minutes again. By this time, that's my sister. By this time, it's been like 45 minutes. My poor dog is shivering. At this point, I'm taking off my coat to put on him because this poor baby. And so then I'm just like, I'm just going to hang up and I'm going to call back. And they're just like, oh, didn't you just call me? Yes, I did. So then I immediately get transferred to roadside assistance again. And then they're just like, oh, well, we can't open the car either. So then why am I using this service? I can't take the keys out of the car because you have it roped to the steering wheel. And so I'm just like, well, then I'm leaving your shitty car and I'm just going to have to walk home. Luckily, I'm not downtown such that I can walk my dog home because I can't take him into an Uber, can't take him onto the train. So, and they're just like, oh, well, if you abandon the car, you'll be subject to fees. I wish you motherfucker would.
Right.
I wish, please. So this whole back and forth, and I'm just like, I don't know why I use this service. I don't know why I'm talking to you. And I'm trying to be as nice to the person on the phone as possible because I'm like, you just work here. But just in the grand scheme of things, I am annoyed. And then they're just like, fine, we'll just tow it. Can you wait 3 hours? Can I wait 3 hours for a tow? No, I can't wait 3 hours for a tow. And they're like, oh, well, we can transfer you to another car. Can you wait until 2? It's 11:15. No. So I'm just like, I'm abandoning this car. And so then I get home. It's a great walk. It's lovely. It's fall in Chicago. I'm having a great time. And my dog's not cold because we're moving. And then the tow truck calls me. I heard you need a tow. Why are you calling me? I'm not there. Call Zipcar. And so they're like, you don't want to tow? Just tow the car. I don't care. I don't care. Whatever you have to do. Just fine. Just get off my phone. So that's my beef for this week. It was a whole thing.
Dump that car in Lake Michigan for all I care. Oh my God.
Right. And all this for a nail trim. I just wanted to get his nails trimmed. Just so much. Anyway, so that was my beef.
That's horrible.
Oh, that sounds like not a fifth third better.
Mm-mm.
It sounds
No, not at all.
Fifth's better.
Yeah.
truly awful.
That sounds like
Incompetence is
2/3
overwhelming.
worse. Wow.
Truly and honestly.
All right. So the beefs are out. Everybody just take a deep breath because that was a lot of beef. Okay.
I'm still mad.
I still don't have a chair.
Oh man.
Well, we should probably introduce Denise's book and let's talk about the themes, the beautiful cover, the inspiration, the feelings. I have this. It's called The Fastest Way to Fall.
Yeah.
Fall what? Fall in love, maybe?
So The Fastest Way to Fall is a contemporary romance rom-com. And if you've read How to Fail at Flirting, Wes, the personal trainer from How to Fail at Flirting, is the hero in this book. So Wes is at a crossroads kind of personally and professionally, is struggling with kind of caring for his family, where there is some issues in the past, and he grew up in a house with addiction. And now he is the CEO of a body positive fitness app. And with a background in personal training. So the heroine in this book is Britta, who works for a magazine called Best Life. And at Best Life, she is charged with reviewing said body positive fitness app. She doesn't really particularly care about participating in the app. She doesn't strive to lose weight or to change herself, but figures she's the only fat person on the staff and knows this is kind of her in and an interesting take. And so she engages in this review, but also it's a whole process to kind of talk about the journey of fitness. And so she has this long charge, and there is another writer who's reviewing a rival app. And so the two journalists are writing about kind of these two takes on this fitness and app combination. And that is going on in the background of the whole book. So they meet online. Wes is assigned as her personal trainer virtually. So the first half of the book has a lot of epistolary feels because they're talking through email, text messages, through the app. And then eventually they meet in person, they start working out, and of course they fall in love. But the theme of the book really is strength. Like, how do we find our strength? How do we find those moments of strength? And what do we do when we find somebody who makes us feel stronger? And that is physically strong, but it's also emotionally strong, professionally strong, and what we can do in those moments of strength in terms of taking chances with our lives. Not in a dangerous way, although the heron does want to jump out of a plane, but thinking about how we take chances on those things that can make us feel more complete and more whole. And so that's kind of the arc of both characters. And this is like story of my heart. I love my first book, obviously, but there's so much of me and my life in this book. And I love that her big ass is on the cover, and that they, on both books, on the UK and the US version, and that she's a fat woman who stays fat and is fit and is strong, like the whole book. And so that is basically The Fastest Way to Fall in a nutshell. It is a slow burn. So you have to wait for the steam, but once you get there, it takes 3 chapters. And yeah, that's Britta and Wes. And I'm excited for everybody to get to read it on November 2nd when it comes out.
Which is Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Wait for
Tuesday.
my to arrive.
Tuesday.
Yes.
So exciting.
It is. Did you show us the UK cover as well?
Yeah, so this is the cover for the UK and Australia and maybe in Canada. I'm not sure which version ends up in Canada, but looks like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And on this one, I love that he is the one that's falling, because she, he is really the one who gets saved more than her. Even though he has kind of the physical strength, like the emotional save is usually to to his benefit more than hers, even though the book talks about kind of the things that go on when we're thinking about being fit and dealing with life as a fat woman and body stuff. A lot of the saves are really for him. So I'm really excited about this book. Cass had a chance to read an early copy and offer some feedback, and it's so much better after her feedback. And so I'll be excited for you to read the final version, the changes that were made after that. But yeah, that's the book that's out on Tuesday. So exciting.
Yay.
We're so proud of you.
Yay. Very proud.
When you were writing the book, did it come to you right away, like how you wanted it to go and just the way that it would take, or was this did it take a while to plan?
Kind of yes and no. I was at a retreat that I was helping to facilitate that year. And it was at my university. It was for women of color and some non-binary people of color. And we were in this retreat center and we were making the students do some kind of reflection activity, which I hate doing these. But that's kind of the purpose. We were all there to reflect. And so whoever was leading that session asked us to think about the last time we felt strong. And we were kind of in this circle, and it was a very supportive environment. It was wonderful. And I thought about being at the gym and not about losing weight there or even reaching personal best there, but I thought about going faster and defeating the person next to me on the treadmill or the elliptical, even though they didn't know we were racing. I knew we were racing. And I thought about what that felt like to kind of win. No matter that the person next to me was probably in their 70s, I did not know we were competing, but that idea of strength. And so I just finished writing How to Fail at Flirting. I was querying it to try to get my agent. And I thought, what would it be like to write that story? And so kind of that idea of strength came to me really fast. And then I just started writing it with no plan. It was a NaNoWriMo book. So I wrote 90,000 words in 1 month. And
Wow.
I wish I could do that again. I definitely can't do that anymore. But for this book, I did. And then I almost finished it. Just kidding. I wrote another 30,000 words and then I cut 30,000 out because it was way too long. So I did not fully plan the book. But actually, I wrote Wes and I loved Wes. But this book didn't have any connection to my first book. So I went back to the first book and added Wes because I wanted him to have that connection. So he was kind of born in this book. And then I slotted him into How to Fail at Flirting. But that was kind of the plan. And then what I loved about writing this and running it through my beta readers and critique partners, and even with my editor and my agent, is I wrote it, I thought, from a pretty body positive place on my first draft. But it was my perspective, it was my stuff. And so then as I ran it through other people, they pointed out things to me that I was I've never even thought about that being hurtful or toxic or problematic in the way that we look at our own bodies. And so in that way, I even learned some stuff that are just now kind of part of my unconscious practice in writing that. And so I wish I am not as psychologically well as Britta, but because of all these additions from my friends and all these other people, I think it's a stronger book for it, but also it just made me think about my own language and my own thought processes in a really wonderful way in writing the book and in making some of those kind of tweaks and changes.
I'm glad you brought that up
And then
because
immediately ignored my outline. So yeah. What were you saying, Cherish?
I said I'm glad you brought that up. Just what you as an author can learn from the people around you. We're all still learning about how to properly represent something that we've lived in for all our lives. Our lived experience is apparently just our experience. And so it does take a lot of courage to listen to other people. I mean, it's smart to listen to other people and get feedback from them and, find out different ways that you can change things up or whatever.
And I think if there's any writers listening, which I think there are, because there are writers that often follow us a lot, I don't know, one of the third rails of writing romance, there are many, is if you write a fat character, don't make it about exercise. Did it anyway. And so there's that line of what you write and how real it is versus, I mean, obviously there's a love story, but like writing that character and doing it well was always that balancing act. I know Taj, like you walk this too, like with your book that's coming, of what that looks like in romance, because what I didn't want is a character who was just fully 100% happy, totally secure, completely confident. Those people exist. They are wonderful and beautiful. But I don't know how to tell that story. Like, that's not my life. I don't know how to
them.
honestly like represent that character. That's not the story I wanted to tell, just because that's not so many of us. And so there's that line of like, how do you write a character who's real, who's still fun to read?
Yeah, 100%. And I've been in my own head a lot, and you all know this because I vent to you guys and I'm scared with you guys and I talk to you guys about it. But it, like, truly, you know, like my experience has not been one that was born out of confidence. And so like it's been a journey for me to get to a place where, you know, I have been, you know, accepting of my size and where I am and what I look like and all those things. And so like that's definitely the aim that I took with this book. And I'm not sure how it's going to be received, but at the end of the day, like I know that it's my truth and I know that it resonates at least with some, and that's all that matters to me. So it's definitely, you know, one of those things where you're like, I don't know if this is going to piss some people off, because it definitely goes straight at what people say they don't want to see when it comes to a plus size heroine. But at the same time, being a plus size woman, you know, like there are those of us who do have, you know, very real and valid, you know, feelings about ourselves and our bodies and what we want. And, you know, like, even if we don't necessarily share those things with other people and we put on that brave, strong front, there might be things, you know, internally that we're thinking or concerned about, you know. And so like, you know, in my mind, I feel like you and I, Denise, were really going for those folks and you know, like helping people to see that there's nothing wrong, even if we were to, you know, put out there like someone who is not 100% secure. Like that's real life, you know, and that's okay. So we'll have to
and
see.
Britta still admires her own ass in the mirror.
I love that. I love that for her.
Like says spectacular.
Does too.
Like, I love these parts of myself. And
yeah, like Savvy has a moment in front of the mirror and her ass is the one thing that she's never complained about. But you know, some of her other spots, she's kind of like a little shaky sometimes, you know. And that's been me too. And except I don't have an ass. I'm very Asian on the backside. It's okay though. But it's but it's one of those things where, you know, like you've got to learn to love it. You've got to learn to own it. You've got to learn to be in your skin. And for some of us, that's a journey. And it's a beautiful thing. And
it takes a minute. Like it's realistically going to take a minute for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's always fun to write, because at the same time, the hero is besotted with her. Like he falls first, he falls hard, and loves all of her. And granted, they haven't seen each other at the beginning, but I also kind of like with a fitness app, like he's her coach, he knows her height and weight and some other things like that, even though she didn't post a picture. And that doesn't really ever figure into anything for him. It just is, it's just who she, you know, part of who she is, like being a Bears fan and telling bad jokes and not liking roses. Some of these other like quirky things that are part of the book, because it's still like this cute, sweet love story where they get to know each other and kind of fall in these weird things. But I'm really excited, and I don't read my reviews, but some people have tagged me in things, or like in book talk videos or Instagram posts, or they've just DM'd me to tell me what it meant to read that story. And that, like, same with my first book, is the most amazing thing about being an author, like hearing from a reader how you touch their experience. And that's what I'm excited about this book, because I think it will for some people.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm hoping anyway. Who knows? It comes out on Tuesday, so you can buy the book and then you can decide.
It's gonna be amazing.
I got my copy. I haven't bought a paperback yet. I just have it on Kindle. So I guess when I order mine, I'll have to go through Europe and I'll get your alternative cover.
Oh, that's
great.
Good one,
cool.
could be,
That's
because it's the same, inside is the same, exact same, but
Oh, sure. I'll get the variant copy, like a
Oh.
comic book.
well, as somebody who has both, I recommend it.
Truly.
I didn't
Yeah, I
plan
can't wait.
well, so I don't have all the room on my bookshelves. So like all copies are everywhere, like here, the back there, some in a box over here.
I know you're gonna have to, I mean, we're all gonna have to get to the point where we're being a little bit more judicious about our shelving. Like, you know, Beverly Jenkins, I'm sure she's got the ones on the shelf and then like storage
Yeah.
I just need to
boxes
give more
elsewhere.
away. I'm like, I need to give. No, maybe I'll do that next time.
Yeah.
But speaking of giveaways, I have a chance to win some books if you all want to do some strong words.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So we can probably drop it in the show notes, but I have a webpage with a IG Live series I've been doing called Strong Words. And it's where I invited a bunch of authors on to talk about a moment that they felt strong. And along with that, I'm going to do a giveaway for all their books. So that's like, I don't know, 10 or 15 different books. I lost track, but you can drop the link in there, and to enter for today, you can just write your favorite brunch item on the form. So there's a new kind of way to enter every week. And so for this one, you can enter your favorite brunch item. But I don't know how we are on time or whose time's are-ing, but
I don't think any of us are.
Nobody's time czarring.
Olin.
That's usually your job.
That's true. It is usually
I'm
later.
handing off responsibilities today.
But I think we're doing okay on time.
Yeah.
Probably.
Is inviting everybody, if you wanted to briefly share a moment when you felt strong. And the guidance I kind of gave my guests was it could be physically strong, but it could also just be emotionally strong, professionally strong, financially strong, like just that moment where you felt like you had the strength. If folks want to share briefly a story of that. And those have been really amazing to hear, like everybody's moments, whether it was with health or relationships, divorce, writing things, like it's run the gamut. And it's just been so amazing to hear everybody's tales. And I know you all have them too.
Mhm. Oh,
First.
who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
No, Cass.
Well, there's a moment where I felt super strong in the last couple of days, but I'm not going to talk about that here. But it it did make me feel really, really strong, and I'm feeling good right now. But when you mentioned to come up with something, I was thinking about it, and like for me, I think I'm going to go with a physical strength, because ever since I got hit by the van a decade ago, I rarely feel physically strong anymore. But I went traveling with my sister and her good friend, and we went over to a couple of different countries, and we were in Croatia, and there we were in the town of Dubrovnik, and there's this insanely steep staircase that you have to take to get up to the battlement walls where you can walk around the entire town. And of course, you know, my sister and her friend wanted to do this. And I was just looking at this staircase like, I'm going to cry because this is going to literally kill me by the time I get up there. And so I said, you guys go ahead. You just take, you know, do it. And I'm going to take my time, and I'll meet you guys when I can. And so by the time I got up to the top of the staircase, I actually had an asthma attack. Like I had to sit there and really, really like just breathe it all in. And my leg was hurting so bad. My hip was hurting. And it just, but when I got up to the top and I looked around, and you can just see the ocean over to one side and all these beautiful, like burnt orange rooftops all over the town. It was such a moment for me. Like 10 minutes later, after I could actually like breathe enough to be still, but it was such a moment for me to look and see what I had accomplished. And then we walked around the damn thing, like the entire area, and I just felt on top of the world, literally. And it just, to have that moment again, to reclaim that moment in myself, was such a nice thing. I paid for it dearly for days afterwards, but like, it was just a really, really cool moment of where I was like, I remember what it feels like to be this strong and like to be able to do these physical things without putting restriction on me. And it felt
Mm.
good. It was worth it. Yeah. So that was me.
Nice.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Now it's one of
I
you.
guess I have a similar, I have a travel story in keeping with Cass's.
Mhm.
I My first time leaving the country was to teach in Thailand, and so teaching in Bangkok. For the first month that I was there, I didn't leave the house that they kept me in, like, because I was just scared to go anywhere. And it was like, I'm self-imposed agoraphobia. I did have a handler for a while, like her name was Ploy, and she basically babysat me and took me to touristy spots. But after like a couple of weeks, she had to go back to doing her job. And she was like, here's how to use the bus and here's how to get a taxi. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. There's like too much going on. It's too busy. It's Bangkok. There's like a bajillion people and I can't speak Thai. And I never learned. Um, and so I did meet somebody on the like hanging out in a grocery store, Australian woman, and she said, "Oh, you seem lovely. You should hang out with me and my friends. We're going to be on the very opposite of Bangkok where you live." And I was like, like I really want to hang out with people, but I also am afraid to travel. And I went back to the letter that my husband had written me. And he told me to wait to read on the airplane. He's like, just hold on to it, read it later. And he was like, I'm proud of you. He had all of these nice affirming things to say. So I dragged my ass out of the house and I took a ferry, I took a sky rail, and a motorbike taxi to meet these people on the other side of Bangkok. And I had a fun time. And I felt like super strong. I felt very clever, like, ooh, look at me traversing a city. And I felt like really brave. Like, and I did it without getting killed.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, I'll go. So mine is a professional one. So before I became an editor, I was a editorial assistant at a academic press. And I was the only person of color in the room during our editorial like meetings and stuff. So I always kind of kept myself, I played my words very close to the chest. Like I didn't really speak up in the meetings. I'm just like, these people have been in this game for 20, 30, 40 years. Like, my own internal voice kind of got in my head. It's just like, who wants to hear from me? Like no one will want to hear from me. But in the pandemic, they started this thing in our editorial meetings where they would pick people to say words. And every other week, they would pick me to say words. I'm just like, why? Like, it's fine. Like, you don't, like, please leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like, I was afraid to shine. And then there was one time in the recent past, I want to say it was like April, where I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna get out of my own way. I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to say what I have to say editorially and just see what happens. So I had my notes and I had my paper, and like I was staring our director in the face and our editorial director and like my bosses and all these editors and everything, like just via Zoom. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna pretend I'm not on camera and I'm like saying words to my sister, because that's when I feel strongest, because like it's that safe place. And so I said words, and I kind of really went in on this book, because I'm just like, if we're gonna do this X, Y, and Z, also, please don't like equate to like BLM just because you want to feel relevant to the movement, whatever. And then like my heart was beating really fast after I was done, and I'm just like, oh, what did I say? Oh no. But then directly after, my boss sent me an email, no subject line or anything like that, and it just said A+ comments all the way. And that really just like spoke to me. It's just like, so I do have something to say. I just have to stand in my own strength and my own truth and like what I know I have to say about books. So that was the moment for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, I love that too.
Thank you.
You got to speak up.
That's the truth. That is the truth. Ooh-wee. I think I've had a lot of moments this year. I mean, 2021 has been a year, right? But I've had a lot of moments this year where I felt especially strong. And I guess professionally, the one that comes to mind is kind of like the biggest thing I've done for myself in over a decade. I decided to leave university life and officially work for myself. And I had been going through a lot of really terrible moments of kind of like, I'm not even going to say kind of racism, dealing with some things at work that were not okay. And, I was trying to, quote unquote, be a team player. And, if there's nothing that I learned from the pandemic, it's that, I'm capable of working from home. That was something that I was like, I want to be a full-time writer, but I don't know if I'm disciplined enough to be able to do work at home, or if I'm just going to fuck around and watch Netflix all day, which is tempting. I'm not going to lie to you. But, like I, having been through the pandemic and having experienced loss and, just coming through and having that feeling of life is just too short. And I had started doing some consulting work on the side to make up for salary reductions that we were dealing with at work. And I was like, okay, well, now that I actually have a writing contract and I have this consulting stuff, and I'm looking at, salary versus, like if I do this thing on my own, like what is the baseline that I have to make? And am I willing to give up a 6-figure salary to take a big reduction? But will I be happier? And for me, that was huge. I've definitely taken a cut of probably more than $50,000. But I'm so much happier. And I like literally to the point where, I'm in this new apartment with everything but a desk chair, and I'm sleeping better. I'm happier. I'm close to tears right now, but I'm so happy. And it just lets me know that I made the right decision.
Yes. Yeah. You
Do
did.
people cry during these, Denise? Good grief, man, you got me. But yeah, like
all 9 of them are up on my IGTV, and yeah, there's been some tears.
But it makes me feel so strong because I'm my own boss now. Like I'm relying on myself. I don't have to deal with office politics. I don't have to deal with the bureaucracy. I don't have to deal with random people gaslighting me or implicit bias. I don't have to deal with any of that. And it's amazing. And so like, if anybody is thinking about taking the leap, obviously you have to really look at finances and be honest with yourself about what you can manage. But but it's an awesome thing to be able to take that leap and to not be living for someday.
Right.
Mhm. People are learning a lot from this pandemic, and I'm
Really?
glad that one of those things is like, I gotta take care of myself, because
Yeah.
apparently my boss is not gonna do that.
Right.
Boss isn't gonna do it, and you know, like, who knows what's coming next. You know, this pandemic, it's an eye-opener in a lot of ways, because you know, like, tomorrow's never promised, but you know, to know that there are going to be things that can come that are completely out of your control, you know, like, how will you manage? Do you have a plan? You know, and if not, like, what will you do? You
Right.
know,
Mhm.
but also, like, what have you learned about yourself? How can you rely on yourself? How can you take care of yourself? And I think all of those things, like, in choosing to work for myself, in part, this is self-care for me, and that's a big deal.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We love
We're so proud of you.
you.
I had not planned to cry.
No, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
we are.
Always the
That's
goal
what
with my books, get a little cry in there. And that's part of where the title comes from. It was also alliteration, and this was probably the 607th title that we tried out for the book. But
Say that.
when you think about that idea of, there's the fastest way to fall kind of in love, but to fall kind of into things, to fall into the rest of your life, to fall into those things and those moments and those opportunities that change us and that shape us, and that make us strong in so many ways that we didn't plan for, is kind of all building into that title and that idea of falling, falling in love with ourselves, falling into the next opportunity and falling in love with that next opportunity, are so kind of intrinsic in all of our stories, but also so intrinsic in this love story, like in so many love stories. And that's kind of why I think it's fun to write romance and amazing to write romance, because it always happens in the wake of all of these other things going on in our lives that, you know, they're tied together. So thank you all for sharing. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
On a lighter note,
Yes.
and switching gears from this book, which is out on Tuesday,
Yeah.
and can be purchased from Berkeley or the link in the bio or anywhere else that books are sold. I believe we have a grizzled story to go out on.
Yeah.
And for new viewers, they will drop some details and I will create the premise for a romance story. I don't know what it is they're going to drop into my lap, but somebody will be grizzled.
Somebody will be grizzled.
Halloween.
let's see.
It's Halloween.
It is
Mhm.
Halloween,
And we have
but in Florida.
Ooh.
Florida masquerade party.
Ooh. Ooh.
and we've got
Okay.
a grizzled.
Neighbor who hates Halloween.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay, so we're in Florida.
Yes.
A neighbor and a masquerade. Okay.
And
Floridian Halloween
maybe our
masquerade.
grizzled neighbor is upset because he's currently plotting for Nano, because today is also Nano Remo Eve.
Oh, it is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Are
right.
we all planning to participate, or is this kind of?
I am unofficially. And so I started a big thread on Twitter. If you guys are participating unofficially and just need someone to like randomly check in, I intend to like continue that thread and check in with everybody on the thread. So join in. But yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah, I'll
I
check
have
that
a
out.
book due December 1, so I unofficially
Good.
and by default will be participating in
Good.
Nano because
Wow.
I'm under contract to turn something in on December 1 that isn't done yet. So
Denise is forever under contract, y'all. Like, I want to be like her when I grow up.
I
Wow.
know.
Yeah.
okay, I think I have our story.
Yes.
Ooh,
And our
Okay,
story begins with
get
Joe
ready.
Top Jack-o'-lantern,
Yes.
but just Joe TopLant for short.
Okay.
And Joe TopLant lives in Florida. where my best friend is moving in 4 days. Not excited about that, but so lives in Florida and is wants to be an author, but is writing speculative horror, erotic horror. And Joe TopLant is ready to dive into a new project beginning November 1. But Joe TopLant's neighbor, Jane Undercandy, has been planning the most epic party of her life. And Jane used to be a party planner, but disaster struck when one of her parties was ruined by political scandal. And in this political scandal, one of her core guests, her date actually was escorted out by the FBI, charged with treason. Half of the guests were involved. And so Jane Undercandy had this amazing influencer type life that all of a sudden fell apart, and she wants it back. So she is throwing this huge masquerade party. Preparations are underway. Music is going. And then her neighbor, the grizzled Joe TopLant, threatens to call the police because it's too loud and he needs to write.
Not again.
She bangs on the door wearing her mask, and she is dressed as a sexy boat captain and in a masquerade mask. And Joe TopLant is immediately taken by her, but also wants to be writing his erotic speculative horror. And so, listen, you need to keep it down. And then this is going to go real dark, and my dad needs to turn this off right now because I know where this story is about to go. And my dad who is watching, not my dad who was in this story. So he says, you just have to be quiet, or I'm going to call the sewer. I'm going to call our landlord. I'm going to call the police. But she needs to throw this party. It's really important for her to get back on top. So Joe TopLant says, fine, we'll make a deal. If you stay quiet, then you can throw the party. So then it gets into reenacting some scenes from this erotic book that he's writing, where he needs some kind of real life inspiration, and she has to stay quiet while some different things are occurring. And then you end up with a sexy boat captain and a grizzled old speculative horror erotic fiction writer engaged in some activities while the party rages next door. And then at the end of it, she gives him a mask and he goes with her to the party, and they live happily ever after.
Question.
So fun.
Can you elaborate on, like, is she allowed to go to her own party, or is she just spending the whole party at Joe's?
Oh, it's not the whole
things?
party. He's pretty efficient. It's some very specific activities wherein he won't call the cops on the noise next door if she is able to stay quiet throughout these activities.
Now, when we say activities, are we talking a little, or are we talking like a?
We are talking a bevy of jack-o'-lantern activities, ranging from a dum-dum sucker to the full-size Reese's peanut butter cup, if you can equate it.
Oh my.
Sexual acts to things in your candy bucket.
Well,
And so, it's a little spot here and there, a little this, a little this, a little whoop.
Okay.
So that happens, and then they go to the party. And then, of course, after the party, then, more things can emerge because now they have built this relationship.
Okay.
So, dear Denise,
And so
if you're still watching, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And
I will tell you, if I can give kudos to both my parents, but to my dad, he listened to my full audiobook of my first book, and that was not a sweet romance story in the spice realm. This one is much more of a slow burn, but that one was not. So kudos to dad.
Oh.
Made it through.
Kudos to dad.
So does
Mom said he only cringed a few times.
only a few times. So does Undercandy, does she get back into the party planning world?
Great question. Undercandy gets back into the party and begins to relive her influencer life, but Joe TopLant is not into this. And she realizes that she really was enjoying this influencer life for reasons that didn't truly make her happy. So ultimately, she leaves that and she moves into, you won't believe this, a librarian master's program, library sciences master's program, because she loves books. And so she is going to school to be a librarian while Joe TopLant puts out yet another best-selling speculative fiction horror erotica book. And then they live in this sort of bookish paradise. So the next party that they throw in the epilogue is another Halloween party in a library, and everybody sits quietly and reads books, and then they get drunk together and talk about the books. And that is their party. And of course, they leave in the middle of it to do the things.
The quiet things.
The quiet things.
Okay.
The quiet things.
That's the title.
That's
of the
the
book.
title of the book.
She's filling up her candy bowl.
Yeah, she is.
There you go.
She's filling up his candy bowl too. Oh, it just goes all over the place.
Whoa.
So maybe look for that book coming 2025. I'm guessing not from my publisher, but you never know.
Probably not from Berkeley,
Oh,
But maybe.
but maybe, you know,
you never know.
they might be wanting to create a horror speculative erotica line.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
There's a market for
I'd
it.
like to see it.
I mean, as with many of these stories, once I put it out into the world off the top of my brain, I'm like, that might be kind of fun to write.
I mean, I would
But-
buy that novella, Denise. Come on now.
I have 4 other books to finish. One of them is due in 12 hours. Revisions on my 3rd novel are due in 12 hours. They're done.
Oh, okay.
And then the 3 novellas that'll be out next summer, May, June, and July, which I should have covers to reveal for those pretty soon.
May, June, and July, and then when does
July, and then-
your 3rd book comes out in
3rd novel will be out September, I think it's September 6th in 2022.
Awesome.
And then the 4th novel will be out fall 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that features 2 characters from this book who I really love. So,
Yes.
Heck yeah.
and there is a
Um,
tent scene that I really love that I hope I get to keep in the book.
This whole tent scene. Oh my gosh.
It's intense.
We've heard stories.
Denise.
Uh,
Oh my goodness.
But thank you all for celebrating launch with me and
Yes.
partying it
Of
up and
course.
hearing all my whining in the DMs. You'll continue to hear it anywhere.
Well, and
sure
Alicia,
you
thank you
order-
for joining us on Better Than
Yeah.
Brunch.
No, thank you for inviting me. This has been great. This is super fun.
Yes.
So
There is
awesome.
still time to pre-order Denise's book, so make
Mhm.
sure that you go and pick up The Fastest Way to Fall. Is coming out on Tuesday, so gird your loins, people. It is almost here.
The
Heck yeah.
audiobook is dual narration, and I just heard it last night, and it sounds well. I heard part of it last night. Sounds great.
Ooh.
Yay. Also, before we
And-
go, we need to give a shout out to Taj because she just got her ARCs and we
Oh.
have not done a show since you got them. And so, Taj, tell everybody when your amazing book is coming out.
March 22nd. It is coming very, very quickly now. We have done, I got to hear samples of different audio personalities to try to pick someone for Savvy. And so we did that. And we're just starting to get different events on the calendar and things like that. So stay tuned. There's definitely a lot more to come, but March 22nd, I'm very, very excited. And so far, we've been asking, you know, with the whole supply chain issue and paper shortage, whether there's going to be any kind of delays. And so far, they're not foreseeing that.
Oh, nice.
So that's a
That's
really good
good.
thing. Yeah, yeah,
That's
because I
good.
actually
Fingers
come out on the
crossed.
same day as my good friend AJ Sass. His second book comes out on the same day, so we're planning to do some events together, even though his is middle grade and mine is definitely not for children. So one is for kids and one is for the moms. We'll just leave it there. But I'm excited. Savvy is so much fun, and I'm ready for people to meet her.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
That'd
is
be great.
exciting couple of months.
So my lovely ladies, with that, it is time for our photo. Is everybody ready?
yeah.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. All right, I've got our photo.
Yay.
Cute.
I can't wait to hold
Hooray.
your book in my hand, Denise. It's gonna
I
Thank
be
know.
you.
Can't wait. I'll
Yay.
be taking photos with it for sure.
Definitely. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in again, and celebrate the fastest way to fall with us on Tuesday. Take pictures with your book, pre-order. You are going to love it. Wes and Britta are going to melt your heart. But yeah, everyone have an amazing Halloween. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yay.
Yay.